I majored in economics and journalism. I always wanted to go into journalism. I wanted to be a documentary filmmaker. After graduating college, I interned at Al Jazeera English in Doha, learning how to report, how to make connections, relate to people, to get valuable information, and to help craft a story. That is something that you can use every single day. I found this startup. It was based in New York. Thankfully, someone that co-founded that company, Alex Regier, was a Northwestern alum. That was the first decision that led to a bunch of connections that eventually led to Wild Alaskan Company. Aaron's a third-generation commercial fisherman from Alaska, born in Alaska. Grandfather actually was interim chairman of the Board of Fisheries for the state of Alaska. But his professional life was all in founding businesses. I knew that there was no better person in the world to start that business than Aaron. At the end of the day, it was like a $500,000 bet on myself. I thought the timing is right. I believe in the mission. I believe in the leader. I believe in myself. Let's give it a try.
What's up, everybody? My name's Alex Lobert, and welcome to the best job I've ever had. On today's show, I'm talking with Carlos Cabrera. Carlos is the executive vice president for the direct-to-consumer seafood company, the Wild Alaskan Company. I met Carlos whenever we first were actually at Northwestern University. And fast sidebar, anyone trying to decide if they should go to Northwestern, man, can I not recommend it enough. It is an absolutely beautiful campus. Evanston is such a cool place. You've got all the fun of Big Ten sports. But the thing that I certainly didn't appreciate when I was 18 years old is that the people that go there are so talented. You just can't help but be a little bit smarter or a little bit better by being around them. And Carlos is absolutely one of those people. He was a dual economics and journalism major when he was in college, and he had a number of offers to go kind of take the safe route and go to consulting after college. But he actually tried his hand at journalism to start. So in his senior year, he interned at Al Jazeera in Qatar. Now, that didn't work out as a full-time position, but after that, he decided, I have to try, my hand at journalism to some degree. So we went to a documentary film company called Story Hunter that just happened to be founded by another Northwestern grad. And it was there that he met Aaron Kallenberg, who would ultimately go on to found Wild Alaskan Company. I was so impressed with this conversation with Carlos. He's not only smart, very talented, but he's also incredibly introspective. And it was so fun to see that he is, at a relatively young age, figured out how to have a job that just really fits him. So I hope that you have fun from this conversation. I hope you learned something. Let's get to the conversation with Carlos Cabrera. Carlos, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Alex. How's it going?
It is going amazing. I am very excited to have this conversation. But first off, where's this podcast find you today?
We're in Brooklyn, New York. So, I'm actually in my basement in Brooklyn, New York. Don't worry. I'm okay. Don't worry. I'm just in my basement.
Hiding out from your newborn, right? Or not quite newborn, I guess, like 13 months. That's like officially a baby.
Still a baby. Probably will be a baby in my eyes always. But yeah, he's upstairs and he's asleep. So it's past bedtime.
All right, good. Well, if you need to duck out and do dad duties, of course, no worries. But I'm really excited to have this conversation. I think that there's, not that many people that can say they run a online fish company. I know there's more to it. We'll get into it. But I was like, I think this would be a fascinating conversation for so many people. So thanks for agreeing to it.
Of course.
So, okay. Are you ready to dive right in? How about we go with the most important question?
Let's dive.
Carlos Cabrera, what is the best job you've ever had?
Best job I've ever had is selling seafood on the internet, working for Wild Alaskan Company. And Wild Alaskan Company is a direct-to-consumer seafood business. We ship wild-caught sustainable seafood from Alaska to doorsteps all over the United States of America. While we sell seafood on the internet, we also have very deep technology roots. All the founding team, either is performance marketers, technologists, product people. So we're actually also a tech-enabled logistics company. And that's something that not a lot of people know about Wild Alaskan Company, but we have homegrown technology that is helping power our entire supply chain and logistics to get amazing, wild-caught, sustainable seafood from Alaska all the way to your doorstep. And that's what we do.
So, Carlos, you're from like the Chicago area, right? How did you get introduced to a Alaskan direct-to-consumer salmon fishing business? Did you always know this was gonna be passion? Like, did you get introduced to the business in an interesting way?
Yeah, I was lost at sea one time in Alaska, and no, I'm kidding. It's like most things. It's you find yourself ending up in whatever place through connections. It's all through people. And the founder of Wild Alaskan Company, someone that I worked with previously at another startup, we hired him very early on as our CTO, and he's someone that actually got me into product management. I remember very vividly in those days, the company was called Story Hunter. Now it has a different name. It's called Glimmer, but we were a global video production studio with video journalists and documentary filmmakers all over the world, and we were essentially executive producing and editing short form documentaries. The founder of that company, the two founders, the co-founders decided, all right, we're going to become a tech company. And this was like the rise of marketplaces like Uber and Airbnb back just after 2010. And so we kind of looked around the room. We were like, well, none of us are really in tech. And then that's when we hired Aaron Kallenberg, the founder, the eventual founder of Wild Alaskan Company. And I was dabbling a little bit in very basic software engineering and kind of teaching myself a little bit how to code. And very early on, Aaron was like, I need a product manager. And I wasn't there for the conversation, but I'm pretty sure it went something like this. Well, how much do product managers cost? And then they looked at the market, and then the two co-founders were probably like, well, we have Carlos. How about Carlos? And then I got thrusted into that, and I took it on head on and kind of taught myself product management. And then eventually, Aaron left the company. I eventually left the company after some years, but Aaron and I always stayed in touch. We got coffee every week in Williamsburg, 7 a.m.s. I think there were Tuesdays, maybe Thursdays. And we talked about a lot of things. So Aaron, in many ways, has been a mentor for me in the technology space. And out of the many things we talked about, we also talked about Wild Alaskan Company. Aaron's a third generation commercial fisherman from Alaska, born in Alaska. Grandfather actually was interim chairman of Board of Fisheries for the state of Alaska. And so he had this like amazing heritage in sustainable seafood and being from Alaska. But his professional life was all in founding businesses. So he taught himself how to code on the boat. And I knew that there was no other better person in the world to start that business than Aaron. And so eventually, Aaron, he was doing private equity and venture capital due diligence at the time. I was working in product management and real estate. And he decided that he was going to go full force into founding and working on Wild Alaskan Company. And then I shortly quit my job after that and told him, hey, hire me as a contractor. And I helped him bring it to launch with another individual, Joe, as well as Aaron's wife, Monica. And we really haven't looked back since.
I love the story about we probably need to hire a product manager. Carlos can probably do it. He'll do it for cheap, right? Although I hope you took some equity for that. At the same time, really fascinating that you were able to then, dive in. And obviously you took a pretty big risk in quitting your job and being a contractor for Wild Alaskan, but it seems to have paid off. I'd love to hear a little bit about, okay, so you're right now I believe, executive vice president for Wild Alaskan Company?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
So, what is it exactly that you're doing? So, you started on the product management side, helping to build, I assume, the direct consumer interface, so the user experience and such. Like, what is it that you're doing now? What are you responsible for? How do you think about it?
Yeah. I mean, as a startup, you're almost doing everything from the get-go. So early on, I did everything from operations, like figuring out the fulfillment centers and how that worked, liaising with the fulfillment centers, and to business operations, to some product work, leading HR. I've led retention. I led retention marketing, the member experience team. Most people call it customer service, customer support. We call it member experience. So I developed that team from the onset, and so it was everything to do almost like with the members experience. But as the company grew and as we scaled, we hired more leaders in different functions, and I was able to, you know, to give up some of my responsibilities. And now we have a dedicated vice president on the member experience team, but I oversee the digital product team as well. And we have proprietary tech for our e-commerce as well as for our inventory management and logistics. And then as well as the EVP work a lot about figuring out how to continue to scale the company closely with Aaron and figure out what key personnel we need, and as well as our chief of staff, James Walton. So yeah, that's kind of the gamut of what I do right now at Wild Alaskan.
They couldn't keep you doing 9 different jobs as the company scaled. Is that what I'm hearing? No, that's one. It's an interesting component of being in a startup that you obviously have to do so much, and you do though get a lot of experience then in all these different functions. Actually, can you talk to me maybe actually about that? Like getting such a varied set of experiences at Wild Alaskan. Did you enjoy that, or were you excited to be able to specialize a little more as the company has grown and become, well, would you still consider it a startup?
Yeah. I think I think all companies are startups, just different phases of their lives, I guess. I don't know. I guess technically we're kind of a scale up now. I'm not
I
quite
love
sure
it.
to be not quite sure to be honest. I mean, we're a growing company. We've been growing every single year, and yeah, I mean, to answer your question, um, I love creating things and I love learning things. So being able to immerse myself in different functions and just have to figure things out, going 0 to 1 in multiple different functions was really awesome. I mean, the amount that I learned about fish, the amount that I learned about logistics, the amount that I learned about how to create an experience and build a member experience team, and then also thinking critically about retention is just, I have so much more knowledge than I did 7 years ago in all those facets. And then now being able to focus a little bit more as predominantly thinking about how to continue to lead the product team and continue to grow it and continue to drive a lot of value for our team as well as for the members. It's a different type of rush. It's more about figuring out how to empower individuals to create a lot of value and connect people and get the best out of people every single day in terms of what they do. And so you're creating almost, instead of creating as an IC, like you're creating an environment for people to hopefully thrive in and to provide the context for them to be able to thrive.
Right. And by the I see individual contributor, because I'm sure that I feel like that.
Sorry, yeah, inside
very,
baseball.
very tech term. No, but you're building the machine now, right? You're building that machine that allows all of these people to be successful. Is kind of, it sounds like, where your role has kind of evolved to as the company has grown. But you touched on the fact that obviously your curiosity and one of the exciting things was learning. I feel like working at a startup is aspirational for a lot of people, especially a successful. Okay, let me be honest. Working for a successful startup or scale up now is aspirational for so many people. Like, why do you think you have been good at it? Is it the curiosity? Are there other things that you think you'd attribute your success to?
Well, first, thank you. But it's attitude. I think being scrappy, being humble, being willing to know that you don't know everything and being okay with that and willing to continue to learn every day, but in a very scrappy nature. And so being willing to figure it out. I mean, even though I lead a team now, I still do a lot of the work as well. And when I say work, just the different kind of work in terms of getting in the trenches and working closely with product designers. And we just launched an app that I helped lead, a mobile app. And so that was like pretty invigorating being a part of that and seeing that happen and being able to, I'd never launched an app before. I mean, I'm very fortunate that I was able to find a group of people that really knew what they were doing because I was learning on the fly, but we pulled it off and now people are using it, which is really, really awesome. But I mean, it's willing to learn, willing to be scrappy, and willing to know that you're going to be wrong a lot of the time and that you should just take everything with a learning mindset and an opportunity and go forward.
I think it's really powerful whenever you are able to, one, just continue learning, but two, have the perspective that you don't have to know everything. Yeah. And that you can hire and find people who have done these things that you need for the business, right? Building a mobile app. I'm sure you found some talent that knew how to do this, right? Or at minimum, you had someone go figure it out, right? And become an expert in doing that type of, building that type of service. So one, just kudos, I think, to having that realization. Something that happens often a lot later, I feel like, in people's career, when you realize you don't know. I don't have to like control and know everything. Can you talk to me a little bit about the culture? I feel like Wild Alaskan has a really interesting culture. I mean, you talked about Aaron and the fact that he is a third generation fisherman, but obviously everything that comes with that. I also watched your all's talent video. Is very cool. Or I don't know if it's a talent video, but like a company video.
Yeah. In Alaska. Yeah.
In Alaska. Right. What's it like? I don't know. What's it like working for a company that has these kind of roots in like a place and in such a, I don't know, interesting industry like fishing?
Yeah. It's a lot of soul. I mean, you know, the story is incredible. Aaron's story is incredible. He brings a lot of soul every single day to the company, a lot of passion. And so it starts with him, it starts with the leader, and then it continues on to the rest of the people. And we've got a wild bunch. We find people that are passionate. A lot of people are very passionate about the mission. Our mission, shorthand version, is accelerating humanity's transition to sustainable food systems. And so a lot of people gravitate around that. And then we lead and we act in a way that's really bounded by our values. And some of our values: create shared experiences, stay scrappy, trust the fish, are three of them. And we try to live our values every single day and really believe that, like, for example, creating shared experiences is so important in the workplace, because once you have a shared common experience with someone, you can relate to them a little bit better, and that will bring out the best of one another within the workplace as well. And so that's why, for example, we've brought the entire team up to Alaska twice now in the past 4 years, and had a week almost of creating shared experiences with one another, whether it's getting on a boat to go fishing for some halibut or going on a hike together. It's so important. And so, yeah, passion, soul, passion for the mission, and super values driven, I would say, are some of what comes through with Wild Alaskan's culture.
Trust the fish. I love that. I hope you have that on some t-shirts. I feel like that's a good merch logo.
I don't know if we have it on t-shirts, but there's definitely some mugs around. Yeah, the other ones are embrace growth, serve with courage, and stay scrappy. And so, yeah.
Okay, those are good. Those are good too. Trust the fish feels a little more Wild Alaskan. I'm gonna be honest with you. That one, I feel like if you're gonna take one logo or one principle and put it at the top of the website. It's just, free advice.
Yeah, Alex, you got to trust because wild salmon and wild seafood in Alaska has been around for thousands and thousands of years, right? And so it's something that exists it's so deeply ingrained in the culture of Alaska and in the history of Alaska. And so you got to trust the fish, and the fish will take care of you, and you have to take care of the fish as well. You got to take care of the environment, and the fish, like every step of the way. I mean, they spawn and they die, and they provide so much nutrition. Their dead bodies provide so much nutrition to the ecosystems around, like the root systems and the trees. I mean, it's like it's all connected. It's so connected. And so Aaron always tells this story that when he was first starting the business, he would just eat every day wild salmon, and he would just be like, trust the fish, trust the fish. And so that's kind of how it ended up being one of our values.
This is that's an epic founding story. I don't know, that sounds like an Alaskan I don't know, like folk story. It's gonna become a folk hero here. And also killer offsites. I feel like bringing people to Alaska, that's a great thing for people to try to replicate. So one more question about a Wild Alaskan. I mean, you mentioned obviously you're running the digital team, and there's a lot of proprietary tech behind this business that makes it work. What's been interesting to you about that side of the business? How has it been? Again, like that doesn't sound like it's core, but it actually is, I'm sure, one of the absolute heartbeats of Wild Alaskan.
Yeah, it totally is. It's totally core to the business because it powers our entire supply chain, and it allows us to differentiate the experience as well. And we own our tech. You own your tech, you own your data, you own the data, you own the experience, you own the experience, you can personalize the experience. And so our tech has not only, allowed the business to run, but it's also allowed the business to scale, and it's allowed the business to have a sense of redundancy, to be able to thrive during times of uncertainty. So for instance, when COVID hit, we had multiple fulfillment centers from multiple fulfillment centers, partner centers that are run by different companies, but our technology connected all of them. So we're shipping, I think at that time, maybe from 4 or 5 fulfillment centers across the US. And as you can imagine, if we were only shipping from one center or trying to ship directly from Alaska during a time like COVID, we would have one point of failure if our supply chain either got overwhelmed or if individuals that were part of the supply chain ended up getting COVID and weren't able to go to work. And so there was multiple times that one center had an issue and wasn't able to operate a specific weekend during COVID, but we were able to gracefully ship from other areas because our technology allowed us to do so. And then performance marketing team, that is also part of our roots. Joe Fusello, who leads the performance marketing team, he's like someone that advertised on Facebook before like people were advertising on Facebook. Like this guy knows how to advertise on the internet. And so we were able to very nimbly understand and tweak different areas in our funnel and adjust our ad buying strategy. When people were seeing like CPAs go up, like we were seeing CPAs almost go down. Those are kind of 2 examples of how owning tech has really paid off.
I could have used this as a case study when I worked at Meta, if only.
Actually, Meta mentioned us on one of their earnings calls as someone that was doing it right. Yeah. And Meta has done a case study on Wild Alaskan too. So
that's so good.
Yeah.
All right. You're getting the right plugs. Shout out to your client team. All right. How about we move on to our next segment? Crossroads. Carlos, was there a decision or moment in your career that was critical to getting you where you are today?
It's all kind of like a snowball effect. I had a couple job offers out of college. I majored in economics and journalism. I always wanted to go into journalism. I wanted to be a documentary filmmaker, and I got couple offers out of college to be a consultant, very specifically actually a finance transfer pricing consultant. And I did
Sounds
something
exciting.
that, you know, I would never know if it was exciting because I ended up, um, well, in my case, it's part of my story, but I actually reneged on a job that I took. And I probably wouldn't give the same advice to someone to do that in terms of what I did, but it was a pivotal decision where after graduating college, I ended up, writing. I interned at Al Jazeera English in Doha, and I really wanted to work there, but there wasn't any positions there. And I was like, I need to work in journalism. I need to work, like, I need to be telling stories. I need to be creating stories. And I found this startup, was based in New York. I just happened upon it after Google searching, and thankfully, someone that co-founded that company, Alex Regier, uh, was a Northwestern University alum. And I just cold emailed them, and he ended up responding to me. He was like, yeah, sure, come out, like, come help us out. And so I just went out to New York and, just interned for them, and then told them eventually, hey, I have a job back in Chicago, so you can either hire me um, or I'm going back to Chicago. And then
Right.
bless them, they took a leap of faith, vetted a little bit, they saw what I could do, and they hired, a kid out of college to help them work at this awesome startup. And so that was kind of the first decision that led to a bunch of connections that eventually led to Wild Alaskan Company.
Cold outreach is so powerful. If you can do it, and don't get me wrong, sometimes people don't respond. I apologize to anyone who I have not responded to your cold outreach, but when it works, it can be amazing, especially when you have a connection, right? Amazing that this person was, a Northwestern grad. I feel like I kind of remember them. By the way, if I didn't say it at the top, Carlos and I went to college together. So go Wildcats. But that's awesome. And you're able to do that. And actually, it takes a lot of courage, right? To go do that kind of cold outreach. Also, just it takes a lot of knowledge about what you want to be able to go do that, like have that confidence, like, hey, I'm going to go after this type of role in journalism. Talk to me a little bit, though, about the journalism side of your career or your interest. I'm curious if there's things you learn from journalism that you continue to use today. Yeah, let's just go there. Are there things from journalism that you still use today or think about in your current job?
All the time. Journalism, I mean, I always say it was one of the best trade educations in terms of, like, teaching you, I think, really three things. The obvious one is how to tell a story. But maybe it's going to be more than three. The other one is learning how to talk to strangers. I mean, learning how to report and learning how to make connections and relate to people, and, start to get valuable information out of them to help tell a story, and to help craft a story. And that is something that you can use every single day, is figuring out how to build relationships, figuring out how to understand people, what makes them tick, what motivates them. And then I think the integrity that was pushed and indoctrinated in you at Medill, at Northwestern University, through, like, their media ethics class and other aspects in terms of telling the truth, standing by the truth, being objective, is something that you can take every step of the way, whatever career you have. Being able to be objective and have an objective mind and see both sides of the story and understand that there are different perspectives, and that different perspectives are good, to push the thinking forward. All of those things are hyper relevant, not only in the workplace, but in life. And so I cherish my time at Northwestern, and it was such a great education and such a great track to prepare yourself for what's beyond.
Carlos, you're really making me regret not getting a journalism degree.
I think you might be the first person that's ever said that,
That's ever said that.
especially now. But yeah, journalism. If you want to go into journalism, it yeah, it's a tough road right now. You have to be like almost entrepreneurial, actually, like to get into journalism, and you have to be willing to grit, be willing to freelance, and that's something that I know a lot of people are pushing now in terms of the education to improve is teach us how to run our own business as well.
Right. I mean, obviously, traditional journalism has seen a lot of erosion, especially at the local levels, and there's a lot less money in journalism than there once was. However, to your point, there are a lot of people doing journalism in unique ways, right? But I want to just put a fine point on what you said. Learning how to tell a story, so powerful, and being able to say something that's engaging, have an angle, be able to talk to strangers and actually, find information, collect and synthesize it. And then I loved your point about integrity and be able to think about how to be, I don't know, honest, trustworthy. I think those are incredible skills. So shout out to everyone that is a journalist and has those skills. You might not be a journalist. You might end up running an online fish company, but still worth it. So one last question. I'm curious about how, getting you to Wild Alaskan, you quit the Corcoran Group, right? Real estate product management role. So you're helping, build out the tech, I assume, for Corcoran Group. And then you said, hey, I'm going to go work contract with Aaron at Wild Alaskan. That seems risky. Did you not think it was risky? Were you like, or was it just like, I have to do this? This mission compels me. Aaron is brilliant. Like, I'm curious, like, what gave you the confidence to make that decision?
Yeah, a lot of things. I mean, there's definitely a calculated decision that I made, but a lot of it is also I can't deny the emotional aspect of wanting to get back to the startup life and realizing that I probably only had so many years left before that decision would be even harder. Once had more responsibilities like having a family, having a kid. That decision to quit your job and go unpaid for a bit and help launch a company is it's a bigger risk because you have more to lose, right? But a lot of it had to do with really believing two things: the mission, number one, and number two, the leader. And those are actually two of the things that are paramount for me to continue to stay in a role. The third is learning something new every day. Like those are three things that I kind of made my criteria of what do I do when I get up every day. Like, do I believe in the mission? Do I believe in the leader? And then am I learning something new every single day? Well, I knew those were obviously going to check all the boxes because Aaron, his background, third generation commercial fisherman, taught himself how to code on the boat, had founded multiple companies previously, was, I believe, in the inaugural class at Techstars, and most recently was doing technical due diligence for VC and private equity deals. And like it was the confluence of his world. There's no one better to start this business than Aaron. And so I remember getting breakfast with him and getting coffee and just being like, you got to do this. You have to, this is what you have to do. Like, this is you. And so, I really believe in that. The time was right, direct to consumer. This was back in like when we were having this conversation, 2014 to 2016. I mean, this is kind of the rise of meal kit delivery was starting. And so we knew there was a space. Finally, the last calculation was like, okay, what am I willing to risk to lose? And so I did a really basic calculation where I said, I'm making X amount right now in my job. If I were to quit my job and I wouldn't be making money for, let's say, half a year to a year, how much income am I losing? And then probably by the time I hit half a year to a year, I'm not going to be getting paid the same amount that I would have been getting paid. And my salary probably would have been growing like incrementally, not by much. But so at the end of the day, it was, more or less something like a $500,000 bet on myself. And I thought The timing is right. I believe in the mission. I believe in the leader. I believe in myself. Let's give it a try.
I love your framework. The mission, the leader, and my learning. I think it's a really simple yet powerful way to evaluate a job. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense for me. But like, what I think, whoever you just gotta you gotta understand what makes sense for you, and then come up with whatever criteria it is that makes sense for you. Like, what keeps you motivated every single day? I know those are the three things that keep me motivated. At least at this stage of my life, past 10 years, maybe it's gonna be something else in the future. But that has been what it is, and I think defining that criteria about what keeps you motivated, I think almost as powerful as what motivates you is understanding what demotivates you, so you know what to stay away from, and who to not surround yourself with. But I think those are a couple of good questions to always ask yourself when evaluating what you're doing.
Agreed. You're already giving so much great advice, but how about we move on to our last segment? A message to a future traveler. Carlos, what is one piece of advice that you would give to someone looking for their best job?
Yeah, one piece of advice that I'd give it, I think, just to really nail it on the head, is you got to know who you are, and you have to know what keeps you happy. You have to know what gives you energy, and then you have to also know what drains your energy. And I think if you can really understand those things, then you can go from there, and then you can start to figure out, okay, what should I be doing with my time? Because time is your most valuable asset. And so you don't want to be spending the majority of your time doing something that is not giving you energy and is not continuing to help you stay motivated and happy. And so start with the inside and figure out what you really want, and then go from there. And then always reevaluate. Like, it can change over the years, and external factors change. You get a family, you have other responsibilities, you move cities, some other big event happens in your life, and those points of energy may change. And so always be willing to reevaluate that as well.
That's awesome advice. I think it is so important to have that understanding of your energy drivers and what drains you, and be able to make that actionable. And it's so clear you've been able to do that. And I think, it's really powerful. Carlos, going Northwestern, I feel like I got to meet so many smart, interesting people, and it is so much fun to talk to you. You are absolutely one of those people, and also like a really introspective dude. I love this. I love having these conversations too, because you could like hear how soulful some of your friends are. And so thank you. This has been honestly really insightful for me, and I've really appreciated this conversation.
It's been real, Alex. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks for letting me rock. Appreciate you.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, send it to a friend and give us a follow. We're looking forward to making more of the best job I've ever had. Carlos, I heard it was close between running a Wild Alaskan and being a baseball umpire. What?
Yeah, it was actually my first job. I was in 7th grade, and I was umping 3rd graders. But some wild stories. I mean, baseball parents are nuts.
I can imagine umping 3rd graders is chaos.
There's kids sitting down in the outfield, people just twirling around, and baseballs flying everywhere. The parents sometimes are more intense than the kids, and you're just like, what is happening right now? These kids are like 8 years old. But I'm super thankful for that job. I mean, that job taught me a lot, and it was fun, and it was also really good money, being an umpire.